Hello, everybody, and welcome to another top 10 list. This week, we're continuing the series where I talk about my favorite cards out of each wave's hero kits by moving on to the Age of Apocalypse wave, aka Wave 8, to talk about, right up there, right on the tin. It says right what it is. Like my favorite cards out of the hero kits. As a reminder, these are the cards that are coming actually with the little hero profile at the bottom. Obviously, there are plenty of aspect cards in these waves that are great. And as a rule of thumb, I just don't have any hero cards. I feel like it would take a lot for the hero cards themselves to break through to the top 10. But either way, let's not waste any time. Let's get into my top 10 because I have some opinions about this wave. There are some high highs and there are some low lows. So right off the bat, I'm going to include a kind of tie here. Magneto's cards, Wrapped in Metal and Magnetic Missile, which work as kind of a mini combo. Wrapped in Metal is a 2-cost upgrade. It is magnetic traded, and it can only be used in hero form. Attached to a non-elite minion, attached minion cannot activate. Treat its printed text box as blank. So that's already good because you can take non-elite minions and just take the things about them that are the most irritating, such as like guard or patrol, or maybe they just have an ability that is hard to mess with. Like I think Mystique is elite, but like that kind of an ability where it's just like, oh, this is obnoxious to deal with. Oh, I guess another good example would probably be Loki. Loki is very famous for not being elite, and just being able to make it so that defeating him is just super simple is great. The one thing this does hurt is victory disappears. I feel like victory is mainly on things that are elite, but maybe I'm completely wrong about that. Either way, fine enough card. But then when you combine it with Magnetic Missile, which is a 1-cost event, magnetic superpower, with the hero action of discard a minion with Wrapped in Metal attached, deal 5 damage to an enemy, and stun it. This is just a cool combo. It's in his hero kit. It makes it into my top 10 because of that. I think these two pieces separately would probably not make it in. But just this combo that's built into his kit that is very thematic. You wrap something in metal and then you throw it at an enemy. You know, for one, you are using up a lot of resources. But for a cost of 1 to deal 5 damage to an enemy is already good. So stun is also good. Obviously, it comes with a lot of caveats. There's hoops to jump through. You got to have a minion out. They have to not be elite. You have to get wrapped in metal onto them. Then you can magnetic missile them. Either way, you do have wrapped in metal to basically make it so that minion isn't doing anything. And then you can just do magnetic missile when it's convenient. But either way, I think that just having a combo in your hero kit is already cool enough. And yeah, these two cards come together and they really impress me. And whenever I'm playing Magneto, that moment when I get to do Wrapped in Metal magnetic missile is always a fun one, and it's always worth talking about. Next up, we have my number 9, which is Jubilee's Coat, a 2-cost upgrade, item traded, with the text of Jubilee gets +1 thwart, and a hero response of after you play a thwart event, exhaust Jubilee's Coat and choose a scheme. Remove 1 threat from that scheme for each different resource type used to pay for this event. Jubilee very much cares about using as many different resource types as you can to do stuff. This just adds to it. Not only do you just make Jubilee better at thwarting, but then this has just been such a difference maker. You play out of the thwart event, you get to take down maybe the main scheme, but then you also get to hit a separate scheme for 2, 3. If your thwart event costs 4, I think you've probably overpaid for that. But either way, it sort of acts as its own version of Hone Technique. It takes your thwart events. The more expensive they are, the more options that Jubilee's Coat can do more with that. It's not as good as Hone Technique. Please don't get me wrong there. But like just in general, this has been very impressive because it can allow you to hit 2 different schemes or just really hit one scheme really hard. And it has changed the tide of a scenario where I'm about to lose, but then I just wipe 7 threat from the main scheme, and that buys me turns in multiplayer. It may not buy you as many turns, but still overall, it takes a situation where you are potentially going to lose and at least buys you time, which is sometimes all you need. Like, we have plenty of stories when we think back on it where a bad villain phase meant that a game you were supposed to win, you just lose on the spot because they thwart for 4 and then suddenly they get a advance and they thwart again and you're just like, oh, how did this happen? This does the exact same thing but in reverse. It takes a turn that you this is my last chance, and suddenly turns it into I drew the thwart event I needed to make it so that I just have that extra turn that I need to stabilize and get this game over with. And for that, I just love it. It's a great card for Jubilee, and it does great things. Moving on to my number 8, it is Snow Clone out of the Iceman pack. It is a 2-cost ally with no thwart. It cannot thwart. It has a little dash through it. And then 2 attack and 2 health. It is an Ice and X-Men traded. And the X-Men trade is very important because you can use Utopia with it, both coming in and as a thing to ready it back up. And it has the text of cannot have upgrades attached, which is a kind of a setback. And then its star ability based on its 2 attack is Snow Clone takes -1 consequential damage after it attacks if an enemy has a frostbite attached. This is, I think, is great. Just being able to consistently deal 2 damage. You have Iceman defend, although actually no, defend wouldn't work. You have Iceman attack an enemy, you put the frostbite onto it, and then Snow Clone can just come in and make free attacks against it. There are 2 of them, so they work very well together, just dealing 4 damage to things you've already put a frostbite counter onto. Or maybe you play an event that puts frostbite counters onto things, or the frostbite upgrades onto things. This is low on my list because it's not the most consistent card. It's not the best. But in terms of just like what it's capable of doing, I've always enjoyed it. It has been one of my favorite cards in the wave since Iceman came out. It was very quickly became my favorite Iceman card, and that is why it is on the list. I think that's also telling the fact that Iceman does not place any higher on this list. Like I said, it combos with Utopia, both when this is coming in, and also just you can get those free consequential damage. Those attacks that don't have any consequential damage, you can repeat them by just playing another X-Men. You ready up the Snow Clone, it makes another attack for 2. Like, it is better than it looks like, and I'm just so happy that it exists because it is a shining light in the Iceman pack that, for the most part, Iceman's not a bad hero. He just has a lot of meh cards, and this is just the creme de la creme for me. Maybe it's not your favorite Iceman card, but it's definitely my favorite Iceman card. Moving on to my number 7, which is Magneto's Armor, a 2-cost upgrade out of the Magneto pack. Guess that's a surprise. It has the armor and magnetic traits, and it has a response of after you use your magnetic pull ability, if you discarded at least one of the following resource icons. Mental, Magneto gets +1 thwart until the end of the round. Physical, Magneto gets +1 attack this round. And energy, Magneto gets +1 defense this round. So obviously if you hit something that has multiple of those resource types, I don't think that he has that in his deck. Oh no, his magnetic pull, I believe, has 2 different things on it. But either way, it just means that when you use Magneto's magnetic pull ability, which reads, action, discard cards from the top of your deck until a magnetic card is discarded, add that card to your hand. So I guess the part of this I was overlooking is the fact that you can discard multiple cards. So you could potentially hit multiple of these icons. But for Magneto, it just means consistency. Once per round, he's able to get a magnetic card. But the armor then turns it into this boost that, it falls low on the list because it's not consistent. There are probably ways to build a Magneto deck. This is very consistent. You can always get the attribute buff you need. But for me, it's always been one where it's just the chaos of it. The fact that it might help you. It might give you that extra attack. Makes for a good story. Sometimes you just do it and you're just like, oh, I guess I have an extra thwart. Does that change anything? Should I be using an attack event instead of a thwart event? Usually if your back's against the wall, you probably don't want to do that. But either way, this is a story maker. Story maker cards are always going to rate highly for me. Cards that add some consistency, but yet also some variance. That's kind of a misnomer, paradox there. But I enjoy this card. I think it's just fun to play with, and something like Magneto's Cape definitely ranks highly amongst his pack. I put this over that. I'll even put that over the combination of Wrapped in Metal and Magnetic Missile. This is just such a fun Magneto card for me, and it has always made just playing Magneto that much more fun. Next up, we have my number 6, which is Teleport Drop out of the Nightcrawler pack. This is a 2-cost event, attack superpower with the hero action of discard a copy of BAMP from an enemy, deal 8 damage to that enemy, and stun it. So 2 cost to deal 8 damage is already good enough. The Bamps are their own thing. They are just upgrades that you attach to things, and then Nightcrawler's entire kit revolves around what you're doing with those Bamps. But just being able to deal 8 damage is already good enough. Being able to stun an enemy. Most of the time, I'm going to be trying to do teleport drop on the villain to stun them, but sometimes you do have just scary minions that you just need to get rid of. You probably aren't going to stun them because the 8 damage is probably going to defeat them. But either way, this is just thematically such a fun card. It is, once again, it's a story maker. You remember that time when you teleport dropped the villain and just stop them in their place. This wipes out half of a level or half of a stage of a villain in standard. The things you can, like the first turn, just teleport drop Rhino. It's just a fun time. And yeah, I always have such a good time playing this card. And yeah, that's not too much more to it. It's just a fun card that is definitely thematic. Moving on to my number 5, which is Limbo out of the Magic Pack. A 1-cost support with the Dimension trait and a response of, after the villain phase begins, exhaust Limbo, swap a card from your hand with the top card of your deck. Or it has an action of exhaust Limbo, swap a card from your hand with the top card of your deck. The important thing here is just that, one, Magic cares about the top card of her deck. I think that's pretty obvious. This also is not a hero response or hero action. You can do this in Alter Ego. But just being able to set up the top of your deck so that in the case of having her upgrades, which all care about what is the resource type on the top card of your deck, if it's wild, then they all go off. If it's a certain resource, then you get like attack, or you get defense, or you get thwarting. Whatever you need in that moment, when the villain phase begins, you can set up the top card of your deck so that it is giving you the boost that you need, or it's just swapping out and giving you a different option for what you're trying to do. It is a card that I think is hard to sometimes sell. I think it's a little bit harder to master than I think other cards are, but overall, I've always enjoyed the consistency that this card adds, and I think for a long time it was my favorite card. Spoiler, there is a card above it on this list, but the utility of the fact that it can be used at any point. So you've already drawn your hand, you've drawn back up to your max hand size, and you're going into the villain phase, and you just need to swap a card so that you have whatever boost you need, or you just have a different option. This can even be helpful because if there is a defense card on the top of your deck, you can get that so that you can play that defense event. And yeah, just it's the kind of card that adds decision trees, and you don't necessarily realize the depth that it has until you've gotten into moments where suddenly it's giving you options that you would not have had, and that's why it ranks so highly on my list. It makes it to my number 5. Next up, we've got my number 4, which is another Nightcrawler card. It is Scout Ahead, a 1-cost event, Superpower Thwart. A hero action thwart, remove 3 threat from a scheme. You may discard a copy of BAMP from your hand to remove 3 threat from another scheme. So this is just good for in solo, or for like even in 2-player, just being able to kind of handle 2 different schemes, keep the table in check, keep everything on the level. You know, 1 for 3 at a base is not that bad. It's 2 resources to remove 3 threat from a scheme. You're already going to enjoy that. If you happen to burn another resource, removing 6 from 2 different schemes, that is the one stipulation that I think maybe I rank it highly, but it probably could be bumped down a little bit when you kind of like think about the situations where you don't have 2 schemes to hit. But I don't want to get into corner cases. Overall, this card generally just makes me feel good. I have a fun time playing it, and that's what's important. Is that at the end of the day, I'm having fun, and Scout Ahead is just one of those cards that just, it may not actually be extremely cost effective, but it just feels effective. It feels cost effective when you're playing it, and overall, I can't speak more highly of Scout Ahead. Next up, my number 3. Did I say that? I don't remember what I might have said that Scout Ahead was my number 3. I hope I said that it was my number 4. Concussive Blast is my number 3 out of the Bishop pack. It is a 3-cost event, attack superpower, hero action, deal 6 damage to an enemy if you paid for this event with a resource card, Ready Bishop. So first off the bat, it is a little expensive. 3 is rather expensive, but a lot of the big attack events are. But I think that because Bishop, he wants a lot of resources in his deck, and a lot of those resources are going to come with double resources. So you are saving, first of all, you're incentivized to use a resource card, but also you're incentivized to use a resource card because it generally saves you the amount of actual physical cards leaving your hand. And 6 damage is below the curve in terms of what you can do with 3 cost cards. But at the same time, an attack event that readies you back up is so sweet. And you are going to have resource cards in your hand. It's so wonderful. The deck that I played most recently, that I talked about a couple weeks ago, like a month ago now, that I played at Con of Heroes, this maybe wasn't the shining star of that deck, but it definitely impressed me. And yeah, just I don't know that I realized how good an attack event that readies your hero can be, and this is the one that brought that to my attention. Suddenly that 3 cost doesn't seem like that, because you can thwart, play this out, deal 6 damage to an enemy, ready back up, maybe thwart again, maybe attack, but overall it just, the combination of attack and ready is so strong. And like I said, the whole the whole caveat of you need to play with a resource card is not a concern to Bishop. He has resource cards. You're a heavy resource card deck for the most part. If you're not, then you're playing a different version of Bishop, and there's nothing wrong with that, but just he likes resource cards so much that you are going to make the push into double digits if possible. And yeah, I just love Concussive Blast. My number 2 for the wave is probably a little controversial and a little unconventional, but that is Magic's card Scrying. It is a 0 cost event spell with the action of look at the top 3 cards of your deck, draw 1, discard 1, and put 1 back on top of your deck. The amount of work this does to just set you up, the amount of times where one of the cards in my hand or on the top of my deck was a stepping disc, so I can discard another Magic card that I might go grab with stepping disc, or just have stepping disc in hand to go grab something else in the future, is just great. The ability to set at the top of your deck, which is something that Magic very much cares about, is also great. Yeah, I've had so much success with this card, and it's the kind of card similar to how I talked about Smooth as Silk last week, where it helps Magic do what she's trying to do in a way that might not necessarily read as powerful or as potent right on the tin, but once you get into it, you just realize, like, oh my gosh, this is doing so much work for me at the cost of 0, and it's just making my games more consistent. It is an action, so you can do it in Alter Ego, which means you have more cards to be assessing what's important to you with. It allows you to set at the top of your deck so that when you do change to Alter Ego, when you change to hero form, you can use her ability to its most potent. Yeah, just overall, I love this card. I love what it does, and it has definitely risen in the ranks for me over the last year. And lastly, talking about my number 1 card out of the hero packs of Wave 8, we have Bishop's Uniform, a 2-cost upgrade, item temporal traded, with the response of after you resolve Bishop's energy absorption ability, exhaust Bishop's Uniform. Heal 1 damage from Bishop for each resource card in your hand. So Bishop's energy absorption ability is when he gets dealt damage, you discard the top X cards of your deck or equal to the damage, and any resource cards that were put into the discard pile this way get put into your hand. So this often means that you can heal back more damage than you just took, because you already had resource cards in your hand, then you discarded 2 more off the top, and suddenly that 4 damage you took, you heal 5. It's just, this is such an incredible card. And he has other cards like his rifle that do a similar thing but for damage. That's a good card, but Bishop's Uniform makes it so that you don't have to change to Alter Ego. You can just stay in hero form, because again, you are gaining back more health than you lost, and that's amazing. And yeah, this is just the best card in Bishop's pack for me. I think I've enjoyed other cards more, but once I started playing that Bishop deck that I talked about a couple spots ago, and I really began to understand the true power of Bishop's Uniform, its stock rose for me so much, and it's just such a great card. And like I said, it just makes it so that there's potentially chances that you never have to go to Alter Ego, because you never get below like half health. You just sit at full health all the time and just do your thing, and it's just so great. And yeah, I just love it. But that is my top 10. Actually, kind of a top 11 because it was kind of cheated. But either way, what cards do you love from this wave out of hero packs? What cards did I miss? What cards did I highlight that you're just like, yes, somebody heard, I feel heard because this person liked a card that I like? Let me know in the comments. I will see you all in the next video. Have a great day, and thank you so much. Bye.